I'm about to swap this 2009 Mercedes E350 with a complete stranger. And as it stands, currently I have no idea what car I'm actually swapping this for. Which of course is a huge risk in itself, but luckily for me that risk is massively reduced because I started out with a £150 Vauxhall Astra that I repaired and swapped my way up to this E350. The last car was my old Mercedes CLS 320 that was worth around £2,500 that I swapped for this Mercedes E350 that's worth anywhere from £3,000 to £4,000. And you're probably wondering how. Just like all the cars I've swapped for so far, this car had a few issues, which is what made swapping it actually fair. It had a knocking noise coming from the front end, it was in limp mode, the engine warning light was on the dashboard, and it also had a pretty bad oil leak. Oh no! It's gone all over the driveway. Not many major issues, but that is exactly what makes this swapping completely fair. I get a car that has got a few issues, I sort them out myself, and then I swap with the new owner who gives me a car in return that's worth more money, but of course has more issues. They get a car that's sorted and 100% reliable, and I get more problems to sort out on the channel, film, and then swap on in the future for a car worth even more value with even more problems. And now this car is also fully fixed. There's no engine light on the dashboard. There's no knocking noise coming from this front end. And although I did create a pretty big mess in the last video, there is currently no oil leaks at all coming from this engine. And talking of this engine, it is actually now remapped, making around 300 brake horsepower. But now the time has come to put this car up for swaps, because the whole reason I'm doing this is because I have set myself an insane challenge of trying to swap my way up to owning my first ever supercar. Something I've always dreamed of that I think I can actually make a reality. And it's safe to say I've had some really interesting offers for this car. But there is one massively important thing that I've got to keep in mind when I'm swapping these cars on, and that is no matter what car I get offered, it has to be of more value than the current car that I own. If not, I'm never going to make it up to a supercar. So even if I get offered a car that has more horsepower, has more capability and way more fun to drive, I've got to remember that the main important thing with this series is making sure that I am getting up that value ladder. So I've got to think smart and I've got to choose wisely. So it is safe to say that with each trade there is a little bit of risk, especially when I haven't got anything that can tell me accurately how much this car is actually worth. But luckily, that's where Enter Reg comes in. Now, this video isn't sponsored. I have just teamed up with Enter Reg to help me on my journey of climbing that value ladder. So by simply entering the reg of this Mercedes-Benz, I have now got 4 prices of how much this car is worth in 4 different categories. So trade value is actually £2,207. Part X value is £2,107. Retail value is £4,918, so nearly £5,000 if this car was sat on a forecourt of a registered kind of car dealership. But of course, with me being a private kind of seller slash trader, with this car being on my driveway and me advertising it on Facebook, the private sale price is the one that will be most reflected to how much this car is actually worth on my driveway, which is £3,520, which luckily is about £1,000 more than the Mercedes CLS that we swapped it for. So we're still climbing that ladder. But now, thanks to Enter Reg, I know exactly how much this car is worth in its current state and how much I can be looking at for the next car. So with that being said, let's head back inside and actually have a look at what I've been offered on Facebook Marketplace. And I'd say that the hardest part of this swapping series so far has been trying to actually figure out which car is the next best move. Of course, if I take a step backwards, then you guys are going to give up hope and not actually stay tuned for me to get this supercar. So I've got to make sure that I'm thinking with my head and not my heart. I also just want to give a massive shout out to all the people that commented on the 3 posts that I put up showing their support for the channel and telling me that they love the series. Shout out to you guys. Okay, so after looking through what seems like loads of comments, there's 65 on this post, we've got another 78 on an old post. I normally post it about 3 or 4 times in this group on Facebook, just in case anyone has missed it. And I think in total we've had about 150 offers of all different shapes and size of cars. And I think I've narrowed it down to 3. The first of which is this 2006 Maserati Quattroporte. This is a V8 4.2 litre producing 394 horsepower. Next is this Audi S5. This one has timing chain issues, which I know these engines may have to come out to do the timing chain, but this is a really good option if I do want to dive into doing a timing chain again. And last but not least, we've got this Seat Ibiza Cupra. This is DSG and it has a few engine problems. It goes into limp mode, the engine light comes on, etc, etc. I think all 3 of these would be great for the channel. So let me do a little bit more research, let me enter them into EnterReg, see what the values are, and of course weigh up the options of what is actually wrong with each one of these cars, if anything. So after doing a bit more research and weighing up my options, I think I've made a decision. Okay, out of them 3, I think I know which one will be the best move, but what I've got to do is speak to the owner, find out a little bit more about the problem, see if he's actually had the car diagnosed by a garage or if he's just self-diagnosing it, and also talk to a few people that I know that have owned one of these cars and know a little bit more about them individually than I kind of do. So let me do a little bit more digging, but as of now, I think I've got the next car. So as cool as that Maserati is, I think I'd really be limiting on who I could swap with once that car is all sorted, even though there's actually not anything wrong with it. And with the S5, to get the timing chain job complete, you actually have to take the engine completely out, which I think is just a little bit above me working from my driveway, which leaves the Seat Ibiza. Bye-bye. Well, it was going to be that Seat Ibiza, but I've just been told after my mate owned one and it had catastrophic failure, it's got the exact same symptoms, so probably not best to go for that one, especially if it might be okay for me, I then swapped it on and that did happen. Yeah, it's kind of my reputation, so I'll probably give that one a miss. Let me figure out a little bit more about the second car in line. But as I was doing that, I actually got offered a car that I think is quite literally perfect, and it is a performance vehicle. Now I think I've managed to secure the deal. The lad watches the channel, he's bought the car to go to the Nürburgring, but now wants to swap it for something more, well, dailyable. Not that the car isn't dailyable, but he wants something automatic and that is a little bit more comfy to drive, if that gives the car away. I'm just finalising a few things with him now. Hopefully we can go and pick the car up today. It's about 2.5 hours away, but fingers crossed this all goes through and works out. And for those that are wondering how much more, this car privately, like we said at the start of the video, is £3,520. This car is on about 150,000 miles, so obviously that is going to decrease quite quickly. But the car we are actually getting privately is worth £4,130 and is on a lot less miles. So let me see if the lad can let me go and swap cars today, and we'll go from there. As you can see, there is way more to it than just quite literally picking a car off Facebook to swap with and going from there. I've got to do a bit of research on each car because I want that car to be good for the next person that swaps with me. But luckily, we managed to sort out swapping, and swapping today. Okay, so the car is worth more, the guy is happy to swap today, the car is more relatable, and it's a car I have actually wanted in the past. I think this is going to tick every single box, but like I say, I've got to go with which car is worth more money, and so far this is the one that has been of the highest value. So let's go get it.
Now, something I've got to understand is that so far every swap we've done has been a massive upgrade, and some of them that I'm going to do aren't going to be as much of a leap, but with this next car I think it is the perfect swap.
This one I am genuinely excited to go and collect. It is actually a performance car, so it might have a GTI badge, it might have a R badge, it might have a S badge, it might have an RS badge. You never know. But we're heading 2.5 hours away to Norfolk to go and swap this Mercedes E350 with the next car, and this one I'm really excited about. Let's hit the road.
So we're going to hit the motorway and complete this 2.5 hour drive to Norfolk in the Mercedes for its last drive. This car has been amazing, and I've actually missed every single car that I've done in this series just because of the story behind them. But after a few hours of driving, we weren't that far away.
Okay, we are now 10 minutes away from swapping the Mercedes for the next car. But before we get there, over 60% of you guys that are watching this video right now aren't actually subscribed to the channel, and I am so close to hitting 100,000 subscribers. So before we swap the car, if you are enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button down below. It helps me out massively of achieving my biggest goal yet. Let's go swap this car.
So after a little bit more driving, I saw the car for the first time.
I think I've just seen it. There it is. I like this one. This is, I think, one of my favourites. Okay, so this is the new owner of the Mercedes, Jake. Nice to meet you, mate. And he has offered a car that I think is going to be amazing. A good step up in the right direction, and also he has got a very good purpose for this Mercedes-Benz. Jake, why do you want this car?
Well, I'm saving a bit of money. I can't really afford to sell my car and buy another one because I'm saving up for a wedding.
Okay.
Which is coming up sooner rather
Congratulations,
than later.
by the way.
Thank you very much. And I thought, do you know what I need? Rather than a little, different car. I'm going to give it I was about to say.
Rather than a different car.
Rather than it's a different sort of car. I thought, do you know what? Long journey. I think I need something a bit more economical, a bit more, long journey friendly, and came up.
Blacked out windows, leaning back.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Jake has very kindly offered me a car that I would say is a performance car. It might not be a high-end performance car, but it is a performance car. It may have a GTI badge, it may have a RS badge, it may have a R badge. I'm going to show you very shortly. Yeah, Jake, I'm going to shake your hand, mate. Thank you very much for being on camera for one, and also being part of this series. This Mercedes has been a great car, a great step of where I want to get to, and now it is going to be enjoyed by Jake himself. So yeah, I think I should show you the new car. So we have got a 2013 Peugeot 208 GTI. Now yes, this is actually worth around £700 to £800 more than the Mercedes-Benz. I know this may not be more of an actual car than the Mercedes, but in value wise, this is actually a step up, and I think it's going to cause some great content. If we maybe do a few modifications to it, get a few companies involved, I think this is going to appeal to a lot more people swapping it on, and it's going to be fun for the videos. So we'll have a quick look round, then we need to get it home, and there is a few issues. So a 2013 208 GTI, and yes, this has actually been to the Nürburgring. This was a car that I was actually looking at buying for myself as a bit of fun. So when I got offered one, and when I realised that this is actually worth that bit more than the Mercedes, I thought this is perfect. And it is, well, to say that we started again from a Vauxhall Astra and we're now in front of this is a massive achievement so far. So this is a 1.6 turbo Peugeot 208 GTI, and I actually think these are really nice cars. We've got pretty much bucket seats which have got the GTI logo in them there. I think this is around 200 horsepower. I'll have put it on screen, I haven't done my research, but I just really like the look of this thing. We do need to get something done with the spacers and the alloys. I do want to enhance this with it being a performance car, but I'm not going to go over the top with it. We've got a tiny little flat bottom steering wheel, and the dials in this car are actually above the steering wheel, which I don't know if I'm a fan of, but still, we've got a massive touchscreen display. I'm pretty sure this is aftermarket because the original one isn't normally this big. This one did also come with 2 keys, which is great. I'll tell you the best bit about this car in a minute as well, but we've got YouTube on this screen. You can actually watch YouTube while driving. Don't suggest it, but if you want to do it, you can. Full touchscreen on here. You can go on the internet, Bluetooth your phone, but the one good thing about this car and why it is actually worth more than that Mercedes is it has literally only done 65,000 miles. So again, what we'll do is we'll jump in the car and make the 2.5 hour drive home, and then we'll go over it a bit more in depth. So that leaves me with one thing left to do, and that is give Jake the Mercedes key, and he is going to give me the Peugeot 208 GTI key. Jake, again, thank you very much, mate. Really appreciated. Enjoy the Mercedes.
No worries, happy to help.
There she goes. The Mercedes-Benz E350.
But now it was time for me to hit the road and properly see what this Peugeot 208 GTI is actually like. And the best way to test it, I guess, is a road trip. Although I couldn't put my foot down much, I did get a good feel for the car.
Well, so far so good in the little Peugeot 208. I will update you if anything happens along the way. Well, the issues that I thought existed, at the moment, I can't really fault this car, which isn't great for content, but we will see. We've still got 2 hours to go as of yet, and I do obviously want to take this on some B roads in my local area to actually test out what these cars are like. But for now, it's all right.
And for some reason, the way back felt way longer than the way there. We carried on through the night, but the Peugeot made it home all sweet and sound. Now, something really quick worth mentioning is that if you guys are looking to do something similar to me of trading your way up, then I've got you guys a way that you can actually start out with £0. Yes, for completely free. If you head over to Planet of Dreams, they actually do free giveaways. You can enter for free. It costs you absolutely nothing. All you have to do is make an account and you can win free prizes. I'll leave the link in the description.
And of course, the trusty old Peugeot 208 GTI made it home without skipping a beat. And I am struggling to actually see what is wrong with this car, but luckily we have got a list from the previous owner. But for now, I want to give you guys a bit more information and a bit more of a look around. Now we're back on the driveway and we can actually chill and take this car in. So this, of course, is a 2013 plate car, which I know, unfortunately, it is not the 15 and after, because they actually come with a forged bottom end engine. But even so, this is a low mileage car, and as of now, it seems pretty reliable. Now, I'll be honest, the drive back yesterday from swapping for this car was literally just motorway, and we had Millie in the car, our little dog. So I haven't actually experienced this car for the GTI that it actually is. So that is something we're going to have to do in this video. We're going to have to head to Matlock and test this car on some B roads. But for now, let me show you around a little bit more. Now, this comes with a 1.6 turbocharged engine that produces 197 brake horsepower. But from being in one of these cars in the past, these engines are seriously torquey and seriously punchy.
Now, Peugeot have never been known for their reliability, but luckily with this engine, it is actually shared in a few other cars, one being a Mini Cooper S.
Now, I'm not going to deny it, one of the issues does come from this engine, but we'll get into that a little bit later. For now, I kind of want to ignore it. Now this engine of course is a GTI engine, which means in my opinion it should come with a little bit of sound and a little bit of drama when driving it. It of course opens the question that once we've got all the bits sorted on this car, do you guys want to see me enhance it just that little bit? Maybe an exhaust system, an air intake, and maybe just a stage 1 tune for the culture. I think that would just be a great video to film of doing a few nice modifications to this car. I know it goes against obviously trying to work my way up, but for entertainment value, this is YouTube, I think we should do a few upgrades to this car. But of course, that one is to be decided by you guys. I'll only make the one video modifying it, and if you guys don't want to see it and want to see me get this car gone as soon as possible, then we'll just stick to the plan. But I think this car could do with a few tweaks for the next owner.
But like every swap I've done so far, each car has come with a few of its little issues, which makes the swap fair.
And thanks to Jake, he's actually sent me a list of exactly what they are. Let me open the bonnet again, because the first 2 issues are actually to do with the engine side. So the first issue that we've got here from Jake is number 1, thermostat sensor or housing. Car thinks it's sometimes -20 outside, so it doesn't kick the AC on. Intermittent issue, as it works more often than it doesn't. So that to me sounds like Jake said, either something thermostat or something to do with a sensor somewhere. I'm going to have to try and figure that out on the dashboard when the car is up to temperature and see if the temperature is fluctuating, because we've been through the thermostat issues before on a car and I pretty much know how to diagnose them to a point. So that is something that we'll have to look into when we go out on a drive. The next one is an oil leak, and in brackets he's put rocker cover gasket. Looking at the drops that have appeared on the driveway, looks like it is a slow drip from the rocker cover gasket, which is apparently common on these THP engines, which is not the end of the world at all. I can actually see that there is some kind of bits of oil here, there and everywhere around this rocker cover gasket, especially down in that gap there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but a rocker cover gasket is definitely not the end of the world. But something I've just noticed, Jake, this isn't a Jap car, mate. You're not entitled to use cable ties if this was you, but the tie down for the battery is at the moment cable ties, so that's something I'm gonna have to sort out. I'll get a proper good kind of battery tie, well, the OEM battery tie, and sort that out as well. The next issue is one that alarmed me straight away, but luckily I don't think is too much of an issue. Can smell fumes from time to time. The oil cap can come loose, so I'm thinking that is all I'm smelling, as still getting no lights on the dash and getting decent miles per gallon. So I'm guessing he means there is an oil fume smell, which would explain this. The oil cap is definitely loose, and in fact it's not actually coming off. So there is an issue that is going to need solving straight away. For some reason this oil cap is loose and it won't kind of sit back in its position. So I think when we take this all off, if I can't figure out how to get this off, I mean it does tighten just there, but it is very loose, as if it's missing that rubber ring. That could easily be the problem of why he thinks the rocker cover gasket might be leaking, is because that is just spurting oil all over the place. But that is definitely something that we're gonna have to look at. If we're doing the rocker cover gasket anyway, we can take that off and maybe even swap the entire rocker cover. Now the next one doesn't really have a description, but apparently the passenger door makes a clicking noise when you open and close it, which it actually does. And I think I've already found the issue. That bolt, definitely, that is moving. So I think all we've got to do is just give that bolt a little tighten. Do you know what? We might as well do that right now.
Hopefully this one is just a quick fix and I can tighten that bolt, which was in fact loose.
Well, that one was a very easy fix. Quite literally, that bolt just needed tightening. So that is one we can tick off the list.
Now, as usual, the other issues with this car we're going to sort out in a whole different video, so stay tuned for that, because I think I found a couple more along the way home. But for now, I want to jump in this car and actually see what it is like as a GTI.
Okay, let's actually see how quick this car is. Second gear. It is a punchy engine, I've got to be honest. Yeah, it is a really punchy little engine. Yeah, that's impressive, man. I'm not sure what the handling's like. We'll have to hit up some back roads, but yeah, that is a very punchy engine. It does feel probably, yeah, about 200 horsepower. See how it is on corners. See, the cornering, I think, is more impressive than the actual power, because the chassis, like, it feels like you can really lean on this car. The steering rack feels so responsive. I can see why people kind of rave about these, because I mean, it's fun. It's actually fun to be able to lean on it so much in the bends. That is quite impressive, man. I quite rate that. I'm gonna have to hit up some more back roads though to find out what it's properly like, so let's do that. Something I really like about it as well is the way the gear kind of shifts. Like, the gearbox feels really notchy and like nice to drive. Some cars really do take away the feeling from a driver and a car, whereas this one, it does a good job of keeping that mechanical kind of feeling, which I do like. We've got some B roads coming up now, so let's enjoy this car for what it really is. I really rate it. See what it's like on the twisties. I'm not sure what this is going to be like. Whoa! Here we go. Yeah, okay. The chassis is actually sick. You know what? This is actually a little rocket, man. That's fun. Do you know what? I'm starting to actually think that some modern cars have still kept the driver in mind instead of just comfortability. Because, I mean, I know this is a 13 reg, but that felt very driver, kind of a lot of feedback through the steering. The gearbox is nice, you can heel and toe nice. I rate it. I actually rate it.
Now, one thing that I did notice when I was driving the car around is that the temperature on the touchscreen did drop down to minus 20 degrees, and then the coolant temperature wouldn't rise above 70. So I think we've got a problem to definitely take care of.
But of course, they are going to be issues that we are going to solve in a complete separate video. But for now, if you do think this was a good swap and you do love the series so far, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.
You wear a hat, they call dad. Me, I'm the dad in a hat. You just like clubbing and clothes. Me, I like afternoon naps. 3 happy meals for the road. My oldest like counting racks. My middle one, she's in a dirt bike. My youngest is just like a mama.